Let me invite you to sit down with me for a moment, as if we were in my quiet office, away from the rush and noise of life. I want to share something with you that may sound surprisingly simple, almost old-fashioned, yet it carries within it a kind of gentle power that modern science is only just beginning to fully appreciate. I want to talk to you about mixing olive oil with cloves, applying it in a certain way before bed, and the remarkable benefits this can have for the health and vitality of your penis. I have spent decades as a physician listening to men, many in their 50s, 60s, 70s, and beyond, who come to me not merely with a problem of function, but with a quiet ache that cuts deeper. They miss feeling like men in the full sense. They miss the confidence of knowing their bodies will respond when intimacy calls. They miss the spark that once lit up their marriage beds. It pains me to see how many carry this private burden in silence, almost ashamed to speak it aloud, as if age must strip them of this vital part of living. But what if I told you that there is a way, supported by humble tradition and now also by modern research, to nourish the very tissues and blood vessels that sustain erections? What if I told you that the simple act of combining olive oil with crushed cloves, then massaging it gently into the penile skin before sleep, could over weeks and months help support better circulation, stronger endothelial function, and even encourage healthier, more responsive nerves? Let us start with the olive oil itself. Extra virgin olive oil is not just a tasty kitchen staple. It's a treasure trove of polyphenols, antioxidants, and heart-healthy fats that have been shown in countless studies to improve endothelial function. The endothelium is the delicate inner lining of your blood vessels. It produces nitric oxide, which relaxes the blood vessels and allows them to widen. When your endothelial cells are healthy, blood flows more easily, not just to your heart, but to every part of you, including the intricate network of arteries that feed the erectile tissues. One landmark study published in the journal Circulation found that men who consumed higher amounts of olive oil experienced significantly improved endothelial-dependent dilation. Another study from the University of Athens Medical School followed men who followed a Mediterranean diet rich in olive oil and found they had far fewer problems with erectile dysfunction compared to men who did not. In fact, their risk dropped by more than 40%. But while consuming olive oil is powerful, applying it directly also allows its nutrients to penetrate the skin and deliver localized anti-inflammatory, antioxidant effects. The skin of the penis is thin and richly supplied with blood vessels, making it unusually responsive to such treatments. Now let us consider the humble clove. Cloves have been prized for centuries in traditional medicine for their warming, circulation boosting properties. They contain a compound called eugenol, which has been shown in studies to relax blood vessels and encourage better blood flow. A research paper published in the Journal of Ethnopharmacology demonstrated that clove extract significantly increased vasodilation in laboratory models, meaning it helped widen blood vessels and allow more blood to flow through. Cloves also have gentle numbing properties that can desensitize overactive nerve endings just slightly, which for some men may even help with issues like premature ejaculation. When you crush cloves into olive oil and let them infuse for a day or two, you create a warm, spicy oil that carries both the vasodilating power of eugenol and the endothelial nourishing magic of olive oil's polyphenols. Applying this oil before bed, massaging it carefully along the shaft and base allows these compounds to be absorbed right where they are needed most. The act itself is not merely mechanical. It is a way of reconnecting with your body, of sending blood flowing gently into tissues that may have become starved and sluggish from years of reduced use. I have guided many older patients through this ritual. They come back weeks later with a quiet brightness in their eyes. They tell me that the early morning stiffness they thought was lost forever has begun to return. They notice more fullness, more warmth. They tell me their wives have begun to notice too, and that there is a new tenderness blossoming in their marriages. This, my friend, is not simply about physical function. It is about dignity, about vitality, about the precious bond shared in intimacy that so often begins to fray when a man no longer believes he can satisfy his partner. More than that, they restore a sense of agency. You're not sitting back passively watching the sands of time slip through your fingers. You're taking simple, time honored steps that echo both folk wisdom and modern clinical insight. And as a doctor who has walked beside thousands of men through this quiet struggle, I can tell you there is something deeply healing in that. So tonight, when you stand at your bathroom sink and look into the mirror, see not just the years that have passed, but also the living potential still within you. Warm that little pool of oil in your hands. Close your eyes as you massage it in. Breathe. Let it be a nightly promise that you have not given up on this vital part of yourself. Because in truth, it's never just about erections. It is about life, connection, and the enduring human hunger to love and be loved fully. That is something worth tending to, with the same gentle care you would give the most precious garden. And I promise you, your body will thank you in ways that words can scarcely capture. Let me invite you to lean in close for a moment because I want to share something most men will never admit out loud. It's one of those quiet truths that lives in the privacy of bedrooms and locked bathroom doors. How many older men secretly do little rituals each night or each morning hoping to keep their manhood alive and strong? Far more than you might ever imagine. I have been a doctor for well over 30 years, and in that time, I have had countless men in their 50s, 60s, 70s, and even beyond look me in the eye with a mix of embarrassment and hope as they confess the private things they do to maintain or restore their sexual health. You might think you are alone if you have ever stood at your bathroom mirror late at night, applying special oils or doing gentle stretching exercises, or even simple massages to encourage blood flow. But you are far from alone. In fact, if you could see what I have seen, you would know that millions of older men quietly engage in personal practices designed to keep the spark of sexual life burning. They just rarely talk about it. There is a kind of hush that surrounds men's struggles with aging in this part of the body. Society has told men that once they pass a certain age, this part of life is supposed to fade. Many men feel embarrassed to admit they are fighting to keep it. Yet deep inside, most men do not want to give up this vital piece of who they are. I once had a patient, a man of 68 years old, who came to me for heart checkups. In a hushed voice, he asked me if it was normal that he spent 10 minutes every night massaging olive oil mixed with ground cloves into the skin around his penis. He had read online that it could help with circulation. I told him not only was it normal, but that many men do small things like this, from warm cloth compresses to gentle stretches, because they sense instinctively that the health of this area depends on regular blood flow and attention. Studies back this up. For example, research published in the Journal of Sexual Medicine has shown that gentle, repeated manual stimulation actually helps preserve penile tissue health by maintaining oxygen levels and elasticity. Without it, the tiny blood vessels and smooth muscle fibers can start to weaken and scar. Another man, 74 years old, confided to me that every morning before he even brushed his teeth, he would stand by his bed and perform simple Kegel exercises, tightening the same muscles he would use to stop himself from urinating midstream. He did this religiously for 3 sets of 10 each day. He had read a study from the British Journal of General Practice, which found that men who practiced pelvic floor exercises like these saw significant improvements in erectile firmness and even a reduction in issues like dribbling after urination. He said it made him feel like he still had some control over his body, that he was not just waiting helplessly for everything to fail. Then there was a man in his early 60s who told me he would warm a towel under hot water, wring it out, and gently wrap it around his private area for 5 minutes each night before bed. He said he believed the heat helped draw blood into the tissues, and he was right to think so. A paper in Urology International found that mild heat therapies can increase local nitric oxide release, which helps blood vessels relax and expand, letting more blood flow in. He never once told his wife he did this. It was his own quiet way of caring for himself. What I want you to understand is that these men are not strange or desperate. They are wise in a very human way. They understand, even if they do not have the medical language for it, that erections are about healthy blood vessels, responsive nerves, and supple tissues. and they are willing to do small, private things to keep that part of themselves alive. In many ways, it is like brushing your teeth. You do it not because your teeth are falling out that very day, but because you want to protect them for the years ahead. There is also something profoundly emotional at work here. Many older men tell me they do these secret rituals not only for themselves, but for their partners. They want to keep intimacy alive. They want to still feel like the man who can reach for their wife in the night and know their body will respond. This is about more than simple physical performance. It is about closeness, about sharing something that words often cannot touch. I have seen marriages grow more tender when men take steps to protect this part of their health. I have also seen the heartbreak when men give up and believe nothing can be done. The science supports what these men are doing. We have countless studies showing that maintaining regular blood flow to the penis is critical. A well-known study published in the International Journal of Impotence Research highlighted that even short periods of reduced oxygenation in penile tissue can lead to structural changes that make future erections harder to achieve. In other words, use it or risk losing it. These private nightly or morning habits are a way many men instinctively fight back against the slow creep of age. If you are listening to this and you recognize yourself, or if you have ever quietly tried similar things, please know there is no shame in it. In fact, I would argue it shows courage and self-respect. You are taking an active role in your own health. You are doing what countless other men do, even if they never admit it. If only more men were willing to speak about these things, we could reduce so much silent suffering. So the next time you warm a bit of oil in your hands, or do those small tightening exercises, or wrap a warm cloth around yourself, understand you are part of a silent brotherhood. Millions of older men across the world do the very same. They simply carry it as a quiet promise to themselves to stay alive, to stay connected, and to keep one of life's most precious bonds strong. And as your doctor, I will tell you plainly, that's nothing to hide. That's something to be proud of.